In order to minimize field boundary duplication within an organization, certain Summit users will have access to the Common Field Boundary feature. This feature will notify you of field boundaries that exist within your organization but have yet to be added to your Summit through a Sync Now relationship. When you see a common boundary, you will have the option of selecting a previously entered boundary and using it instead of creating another redundant field boundary. A common field boundary is similar in concept to the USDA Common Land Unit, but exists solely within an organization. When the digitizer first opens, you may receive a pop-up window explaining the common field boundary and the corresponding color schemes. Once you are acquainted with the common field boundary colors, if you do not want to continually see this pop-up, just click the Do Not Show This Message Again box. When the digitizer is first opened, the common field boundary options remain grayed out. These features will not become active until you have zoomed into an area of about 2.3 miles. Find the field you want to digitize and zoom into it. Let's say that we want to digitize the center pivot above this one that we already have in our Summit. After zooming in, click Reload Common Field Boundary. Your Summit will now load and display with a red boundary the common field boundaries that are associated with your local outfit. If we zoom in a bit more, we can see that our organization has collected more than one boundary for this pivot. This sort of situation is what the Common Field Boundary tool helps a large organization avoid. Click on the Identify icon and then mouse click within the red boundary. A notification will appear identifying the boundary as a common field boundary and lists the associated grower farm field information for each of the boundaries. When we click Select Common Field Boundary, then click on the field, additional information is provided pertaining to the area, when the boundary was modified, and the user who input or selected the boundary. Before continuing, let's skip over to a field that only has one previous common boundary. When I use the Select Common Field Boundary feature to open up the common boundary on this field, we see only one boundary and are given the option to select the boundary. If you wanted to use this field boundary, which is already in the system, we would continue by clicking Select. The field boundary has now changed from red in appearance to green, meaning that the field boundary that was on another system is now being used within our Summit. At this point, we could even edit the boundary if needed. Returning to the pivot field with multiple boundaries, when the Select Common Field Boundary window is active, we are given the message that there's too much overlap between boundaries for the user to distinguish them. So we need to hide some of the common boundaries first. Cancel out of this window and select Hide Common Field Boundary, then re-click the field. Now the individual field boundaries appear. Check the box next to the boundaries that you would like to hide, then click Apply. When we now use the Select Common Field Boundary tool, we are given a clean view of our fields of interest. We will select this boundary, at which point the boundary will turn green, just as if we'd finished digitizing it. To save the boundary, click Done, and we are taken to the Grower Farm Field Hierarchy window. Once you hit Save, the boundary will be added to your Summit.